Hello, hello, hello. This is Benny Carter once more. Thanks for taking the time to listen. Um, Today I am speaking briefly on foreign aid for Africa. It is obvious both French, American, and other European countries' aid to Africa have no human face. It is obvious they don't have human face. They are only there or were there because they've been taken away, especially the the aid that were given to Niger Republic, even the Burkina Faso's aid, and even Uganda, right? Uganda aid. I mean, aid for Africa is also like the loans that are given to them. They don't have human face, all right? They are only there for control. Whether it is aid, whether it is loans that are given to African countries at a very high percentage rate compared to what Europeans pay to obtain the same loan, even with the same circumstances. So it is very, 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 very obvious. There's no more way of saying it than the fact that this loan or this aid given to African countries are without human face. America gave this loan so it will be able to control what African countries does. We saw it with Uganda, where America threatened or has actually withdrawn its aid to Uganda because that country, within its right, decided to pass a bill, a law that is anti-LGBTQ. All right? America will not allow Uganda or any other country, not even any country in Europe, to dictate to her what laws it should make. There are all kinds of laws in America, good laws and bad laws, right? But no other country, not any country in Africa. In short, one good thing with African countries is that they're not interested in meddling. I mean, I understand the fact that they don't have the much power or strength, but naturally, we don't meddle in other people's affairs. But that's what America does. That's what France does. That's what all these European countries do. That's how they enslaved Africans. Because not only were they lazy and couldn't do the work they wish were done for them to make the money they expected to have been made, they just were able to use free slave labor for almost 250 years. All right? So that's what they do. It is in their character. It is in their DNA. All right? Then after slavery was over, Europeans were not satisfied. They still found a way to come back. Sat and divide Africa into pieces, into different countries that you see today. And so all they have been doing is to give these loans so they can control Africans. Yet, Tony Blinken, who happened to be the Secretary of State, even not too long ago, more like lied that African countries must not be dictated to. Maybe he was referencing Russia and China. But what has America been doing? What has France been doing? What has other European countries been doing in Africa? Is it not to dictate? What happened to Zimbabwe? Late Robert Mugabe and his people, they did what America would have done without looking back. They did what France would have done, taking African land from European intruders. All right? And so they sanctioned him. They sanctioned Zimbabwe. All right? For doing what they would have done quadruple times. But because it is an African country, so it became a crime. There are other instances. Even Burkina Faso recently, the French decided to withdraw its so-called aid. And as the military leader, the young man just said, they don't care about the aid anyway. Is that not the same aid you've been given to these people for the past, say, about 60 years, and it has not done anything to better their life? The aid you've been given, and you're taking more and more and more by way of stealing their resources, by way of militarizing them, by way of, planning and executing coups and rebels. So what aid? Africa, in actual terms, doesn't need all this aid. If America, France, and the rest of Europe can leave us alone, give us the respect that we are due. Of course, African leaders, those who call themselves leaders, are supposed to take a stand. Respect is, of course, earned. So if you don't respect yourself and you're running around begging America and the rest of the European and other European countries aid, why would they respect you? But if you don't respect these rulers because they don't deserve respect, they don't prove that they deserve respect, they're only greedy. Even the money they take or the aid they take, they use it mostly for their good and not for the people, for the common people. So if you don't respect these so-called leaders, what about the citizens? The citizens you don't directly deal with, they deserve respect. All right? And so the same self-determination that they preach, the same self-determination that every sovereign nation is supposed to have, even as enshrined in the United Nations Universal Declaration. If an African country decides to be self-determined, to speak up and stand for itself, it is a crime in the sight of America, in the sight of European countries. Yet they are going about talking about democracy. What kind of silly democracy is that? If it is no longer government of the people by way of the military coming in to remove somebody they believe was a puppet to France. Everybody know that France still colonized 14 African countries until recently when Niger Republic decided to send her packing. Burkina Faso, Mali, and I am foreseeing a situation where more countries will cut ties with that criminal imperialist. So, long story short, neither America nor France, other European countries, the UK, give their loans or aid with human face. They don't care about the children. They don't care about anyone else. They only care about their ability to control Africans. I just don't understand what we Africans did to Europeans, whether it is Europeans in Europe or Europeans in America. Caucasians, of course. I just don't know. Of course, it's not all of them. There are a lot of great Europeans in America or even in Europe that have always supported the cause of Africans, the cause of black people, and have always stood up to speak the truth. Just like a minister in Italy did recently, accusing or exposing France, how it has been exploiting and draining, destroying Africa. All right? And so, what's the need of, for the aid? Africans must stop asking for these aids in the first place because they are only there to control you, to make you become perpetual puppets as people, because they believe these people who run these countries, America, French, and all of that in Europe, they believe African leaders and Africans in general are dead brains, that we don't know anything, that we are animals. All right? So long as they can control us, it has been a grand design from slavery to colonization to contemporary exploitation and so on and so forth. If an African leader decides to stand up for the African people, they kill him. All right? The evidence is there. They have CIA everywhere in Africa looking for trouble, looking for people to bribe, looking for people to corner, looking for people to capture into their net and indoctrinate them, use them to plan coup when it will please the American government, just like they did to Lumumba. They connive with Belgium and others, just like they did to Kwame Nkrumah. All right? You name them. And of recent, just like they did to Gaddafi, use Obama to kill him and destroy Libya to this day. They're talking about democracy, but they don't want other countries to survive. If they were to have their way, by now they should have destroyed China. But I don't think they'll be able to do that because China took them by surprise. China came from nowhere. They wrote China off. All right? So what kind of democracy are you? You don't want any other group, any other country, any other people. People who are not in your so-called white skin, that is not white, to develop, to stand on their own, to speak for themselves. What kind of democracy? It's high time you guys stop lying to yourselves and lying to the world. There's no democracy anywhere because you guys do what you want, what you like, when you want it, and so on and so forth. Tell me what American military base is doing in Niger Republic. Tell me what a drone factory is doing in Niger Republic. All right? Just tell me. What kind of interest are you protecting all the way in Africa instead of in America. And it is high time American citizens stand up to ask the government of this country that is, for the most part, sponsored, controlled by special interest groups, by the banks, by the corporations, you name them, World Bank, IMF. The common citizens of America don't own those institutions, and those are the institutions they use to try to manipulate, control, destroy, and exploit Africa. All right? So, there's no gainsaying the fact that American, French, other European countries, UK's aid to Africa does not have human face. They are there for control, to control Africans, to make Africans voiceless, and to keep the exploitation going. But Africa is rising, and she's rising gradually. We will get to that point. And just like France is restless now, more European countries will find themselves in the same soup, because we cannot continue like this. You cannot be so hateful and so destructive that a whole race of people all over the world, Africans, now called black. Of course, we're now black, just like they are now white. This is not black, all right? This is black right here. No African is like this, whether it is in the continent, whether it is in America, whether it's in the Caribbean, whether it's in Europe, you name it. And no white person is like this. This is white, right? So they should stop deceiving the world and deceiving themselves. Enough. Enough of the criminality. Enough of the destruction. Enough. Enough of this stupid democracy that they're using to steal and destroy the world, especially Africa.